Hello, beautiful beings. I thought I'd hop on here and share an experience that I had in just a video. I don't really want to cut this. I want to keep it natural and just talk about my experience. So, some of you who are following me for a while and who are active in my community, they probably know what happened. I had some major health issues in the last couple of weeks, and I had to undergo a minor heart surgery. It was not an open heart surgery, it's not that drastic. I've experienced that with 19. That was a little bit of, yeah, it was more challenging than the challenge I had now, but it still was an initiation. And I want to talk about it because I feel like I had this experience for a reason, like I always do. I have a history with medically induced spiritual experiences that help me level up. So every time I go through a challenging health situation, I end up with a new level of cosmic insight. It's like a theme in my life. And it's kind of cool, but it's also kind of scary because health scares are always challenging. That being said, I don't want to talk about it too long. Yeah, I was going through a minor heart surgery. It was like minimal invasive, not that drastic. But for anesthesia, I got ketamine. I don't know how to say it, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So it's basically a medication that forces an out of body experience. So it's not full anesthesia, it's like a sedation, but it artificially creates an out of body experience. And during that surgery, in that state, I had a major spiritual experience that probably doesn't sound like much now when I talk about it now, but trust me, believe me, it has left me with such an impact. And I think about it every day, all day. It was so crazy. It was so life changing, I could say. And I've had several of these experiences. I've had near death experiences before, and I've come to realize that I have all of these experiences because I am meant to have them. They are all part of my mission. I work as a spiritual leadership mentor and spiritual mentor in general. So, what that means is that I guide spiritual people on their journey or people on their spiritual journey, let's put it like that. And I also, for the last 1.5 years, closely work together with spiritual entrepreneurs who are either in the process of building their business or who are already experienced, ready to leveling up and to really bring in their true magic into their business through their brand, their expression, their self-expression, and all these things that are unique to us as light workers. So my task is basically to help them channel their divine mission and translate it into a tangible way that makes sense as a business and that resonates with their dream clients, the people they are meant to work with. So what I've come to realize is that this is why I have these extraordinary experiences. If I wouldn't have them, I wouldn't be able to provide such a cosmic and advanced experience perspective. I wouldn't be able to look at business from such a soul infused and mission driven place because I really do not see a business as something you make money with. A soul business. I'm talking about soul business, like spiritual entrepreneurs. I don't see that as something to make money with only. I see that as an expression and an extension of a divine mission of a light worker. So we come here with the purpose to spread our message and to follow our mission. And to do that, we need a tangible way. We need to find a tangible way to express that mission and to share that message. Otherwise, people wouldn't hear us. And a tangible way in this world is a business. That's why so many light workers feel drawn to becoming coaches or to starting a business. And I have these experiences to be able to teach those people and to be able to guide them and to be able to provide a perspective that remains hidden and inaccessible for the majority of people. When I had my first near-death experience, I still was a baby, and I remembered years later after I had my second. And it is just something that not many people experience at all. And for me, it triggered my spiritual awakening. And even not spiritual people, like people who have nothing to do with spirituality, even they feel changed after near-death experience. So, yeah, my conclusion to that is it is part of my mission to share about this, not just about these experiences, but also to provide that perspective for my clients. And I want to talk about what happened now. So that was for the people who have never seen me before or who clicked on this video and think, who the fuck is that? Um, that's a little wrap up of my story, a messy wrap up. And now I'm going to get to the point of what I wanted to share in this video. So like 1.5 weeks ago, I underwent this minor heart surgery, and they put me under anesthesia, and they induced a artificial out of body experience. So it's medically induced out of body. And as soon as I was under anesthesia, I saw two of my Arcturian guides right in front of me. I feel very connected to the Arcturians. I do have a strong connection with their energy. My friends who are capable of understanding all these spiritual concepts, they say I have a lot of Arcturian energy. I'm very, very much above earthly drama, and I keep myself separated from that. And I'm very selective with who I let into my life and my energy field, and sometimes a little bit too selective because I only feel comfortable with people where it can be 1000% myself. Otherwise I'm like really closed up. And that's the Arcturian energy in me. It's like this being a little bit above things, but not meaning that in a arrogant way or in a malicious way. It's just who I am. I just don't like to engage with people that don't really know me and that I feel like I can't fully open up to. It's just a thing. And I saw those two guides, and they welcomed me as soon as I was under anesthesia. And I could feel that there were a lot more beings present, but those two were on the forefront for me. So at the front, I saw those two Arcturian guides in their extraterrestrial bodies. I sometimes see them as light beings. I sometimes see them in their extraterrestrial bodies. I did see them in their extraterrestrial bodies, and they held their hands in front of them. So you have to imagine like one is here, the other one is here, and they held their hands like this, and those hands fused with each other. So the fingers became really long and they fused and created a cradle for me to lay in. And I saw myself, like the next moment, I was just like teleported into this cradle. I just thought about it and I was there, laying there. And I saw myself in my hospital gown with my hair braided, and I just felt at peace. And they told me that the doctors in the physical world, they need to fix the root cause of my heart problems right now in the physical, and it's important that they do it. But I have a lot of trauma and panic stored in me from the weeks leading up to that surgery, because I was waiting for that surgery to happen. I couldn't do it right away because I had to take Medicaid, whatever. I needed to wait a few weeks for that to happen. And had I had heart problems all this time, all that time leading up to the surgery, and it made me feel very, very uncomfortable in my body, very unsafe in my body. And I could feel literally like the panic being stored in my body, and it's not breaking out as a panic attack, but I could feel that there was so much panic building up because I felt so freaking unsafe in my body. And everybody who has heart issues knows how intense this can be, because the heart is a vital organ. It's not just a hurting leg or something. If you have problems with your heartbeat, if it doesn't do what it's meant to do, it can get really dangerous really quickly. And I was living with that fear and with that feeling and with ups and downs in my health for several weeks before that surgery happened. So what my Arcturian guides told me is that I have a lot of buildup panic and fear and trauma in my body, and that I would have to work through some of that on my own, like through releasing practices, through um, meditation. Like I have my tools, but that day would take a good chunk of that away from me because it was not beneficial for me. Sometimes trauma and stored up negative emotion can be beneficial because you're meant to integrate that, but that was not the case in this scenario. And I felt that I was living those weeks before the surgery, I was living like, oh my freaking god, I feel that there's so much anxiety stored in my body and I have to work through all of this shit again. It was like this daunting, oh my God, this is coming feeling. And I was afraid of that moment where it would explode or lead up in a panic attack or whatever. And as soon as I had this experience with my guides and they told me they can take a chunk away from me, I can't I can't describe you the relief that I felt. Like even in this experience when I was still under anesthesia, I could feel them taking away the majority of this built up anxiety, panic, and fear. And it was like a weight had lifted from my shoulders, and it was such a relief. And now I know I still have to work through some traumatic experiences because it was all pretty unexpected. I had to be brought to the hospital a few weeks ago with the ambulance and all of that. And even though I know situations like that, and I'm a strong person when it comes to handling me having a bad health or stuff like that, I'm a strong person, but it is traumatic. No matter how strong you are, it's never a nice feeling. Especially if it comes out of nowhere. So I do have to work through some of that, but the majority of that what helped was has built up during the time where I was waiting for the surgery. It was gone. And it was such, I probably said it 3 times now, but it was such a relief and it felt so good to be able to give that to them and them helping me heal. Because they said, um, the physical doctors, they need to fix the root issue, the physical root issue in my heart, but I need to heal my emotional body and my light body as well to truly heal. And the emotional body, this is my task, like the leftover anxiety that's still there. I need to work through that with my practices. But the light body healing, that's what they did. They really soothed me. They healed my light body. They restructured my cells and all of that crazy stuff. And I could just feel, I surrendered to that and I could feel that they're really, truly helping me. And funny enough, weeks ago, like weeks before all of that happened, I set the intention that I want to feel more connected with my guides again. Because for a long time now, I haven't felt this direct connection. I always feel connected to my intuition and to my cosmic self, but I had a time in my life where I met so many of my guides in dream time, in meditation, and for a long time now it was just silent. It was like calling, but no one was picking up. And I was wishing for that to change, and it did now. It took this traumatic experience and it took this health scare to reactivate this connection, but it did, and it was so beautiful. And that was basically all I felt. Like it was just this healing, this relief that I felt. And upon waking up from this anesthesia, another memory, a soul memory struck me because I was ketamine is like people use that as a drug to go on to have a trip. So it's a really strong medication and it wasn't this experience, you have to understand, this experience wasn't like a meditation where I'm still anchored in my physical body and I just see everything very vividly in my mind. It was as if I was accessing this other dimension with all that I am. So it was much more like a psychedelic trip. and not so much like a meditation or something like that. So it felt as real as anything in this physical reality for me. And coming back from this state, I was waking up from this anesthesia and I was torn between the dimension of my Arcturian guides and the physical dimension for several minutes. It felt like I was switching back and forth. And during that, I remembered I had a major soul memory, which will stay with me for the rest of my life. It was so intense. I remembered what it felt like to incarnate into a physical body. So I remembered that moment where you leave the womb, where you are still very connected with your guides, where you have this situation of checking in and out of the body. And I remembered that feeling. And I felt the intense sadness and the trauma that happens to a soul when you fall under cosmic amnesia all of a sudden. So you're just like there chilling with your guides, you know everything, you're like super present on the higher dimensions, and then boom, you see like hospital lights and you see doctors around you and you see all of that, and you're being ripped from this higher dimension and you're in a human body, or your consciousness completely transfers to that body and you forget everything. It was such an intense feeling. I remember that so vividly, how that feels for the soul to incarnate. There's so much confusion and so much like, what is going on? Like, who are these people? What am I? It really reminded me of what it feels like to incarnate. That was the second major lesson and experience I was taking from this. And yeah, it may not sound like much when I talk about it, but trust me, it felt intense. It was life-changing, and I don't say that lightly. I only had a couple of experience in my life that I would truly call life-changing, and that was one of them. And yeah, I felt like sharing. And if I have to take one collective lesson with me from this, is that we, or you watching this, please trust your guides. Please call them in. They are working with us and for us and helping us all the time. We just most times we don't notice it. We don't experience it. It's not as vivid as it was for me because of this medication. It's not always as obvious as it was for me a couple of weeks ago, but they are there and they are real. The spiritual realm is very real. And if you feel called to connect with your guides, 100% do that. They are here waiting for you. They're here waiting to guide you, to help you, to assist you in any way they can. They will just not interfere if you're not asking them to. Because true beings, like beings from the light, they never interfere without your permission. You have to open up to your guides. You have to open up to making those cosmic connections, and then they can assist you in very gentle ways. I hope this was insightful. I hope you stayed until the end. And if you like more of this, if you would like more of my stories, if you want to hear more, feel free to subscribe to my channel and follow along. I haven't been really active on YouTube, but I really like talking to you guys. So follow for more, and I hope this was valuable for you. Bye bye. I love you so much.